Welcome to Escape Artist, the podcast where we celebrate the bold souls who have dared to break free from the confines of the corporate 9-to-5 grind to pursue their passions and create a life of personal and financial freedom. Each week, we'll uncover the stories of extraordinary individuals who have embarked on their own entrepreneurial adventures. Our guests will share their personal tales of liberation, resilience, and triumph. Together, we'll explore the pivotal moments, the challenges, and the lessons learned along the way. So join me as we embark on a journey of discovery, courage, and boundless potential. Let's design the life you've always dreamed of, where the only boss is you. Here's your host, Laura Demetrius.
Hey, what's happening, friends? I am here today with my friend, Mike Blankenchip, and I got to know Mike a little bit through working at ClickFunnels. He is a content writer, and he's a stellar rock star blog writer. Like, let me tell you, like some of the best articles I've ever seen. So I'm excited to have him on. He, in my eyes, is like the true image of an escape artist because he is working for himself as an entrepreneur, but he also escaped living in the US to pursue a better lifestyle for him and his family and his daughter. They're living in Portugal and having the time of their lives. So I love that you are just embodying this entire escape artist aura with you, Mike, because I have always fantasized about, not only just working for myself, but like changing up lifestyle and pursuing different things and seeing what else is out in that world. So I'm excited to talk to you. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. I can't wait to tell that story too, because it's the move to Portugal was like a wild. I when we were going through it, I told Michaela, I was like, this might be harder than having our kid. Like it was really intense.
And doing it with a child. Like I think that's like the biggest hesitation too for a lot of people is like moving out of the country is a big deal, but when you have a child and you're changing their lifestyle as well, like that feels heavy in some ways.
It's super heavy. Yeah, it was. And our daughter, because she was she was like 4 at the time, and she was, she had her connections at her school, and she was kind of sad. We were in Hawaii at the time, so she was kind of sad to like be leaving. But we were, I mean, I'll tell the story. Just go and tell the whole thing. Do you want me to just like dive in? So go ahead.
Well, then let's get started with professional work and what it is that you're doing now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm still writing for ClickFunnels. That's a big one. I've been doing a lot of newsletter stuff as well. I have my own newsletter called The Tonic. It's thetonic.us. It's just like a personal development daily thing. Kind of read it in the morning for 30 seconds, get some inspiration. One of the things I've been doing a ton of that I'm actually really excited about is Instagram scripts. And I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't even know this was like a thing. And now I'm just like, I kind of got like a referral to it. And a guy was like, can you do this? And I'm always, whenever somebody asks me, can you do something that I haven't done? As long as it's going to pay,
you're going to try to do it.
I'm going to say, yeah, of course I can. Of course, I do that all the time. So I ended up doing it, and it's really cool. It's like this huge niche and a lot of demand for it right now because everyone's like getting into, short form video content, and they're trying to figure out like how to create systems. And so the script thing is big. And then, so anyways, that's like a big thing I'm doing right now is scripting. I'm actually working on a new offer around like Instagram growth and basically like trying to systematize a creator's like Instagram so that all you have to do is like hit record and that's it. We send you the scripts, you send us the footage, we edit it. Like I think it's gonna be really cool.
Wow. Because Reels, TikToks, Reels, Facebook is doing it's like huge. That's how all audiences are growing right now. It's like, and I think with algorithms changing so much, it's one of the only ways to actually get your content seen by new people anymore. It's like, especially with Instagram, everything used to be static or carousels, like all just imagery. And now the only way to get people who aren't following you to see your stuff is by creating short form video.
Yeah. And one of the algorithmic hacks that I'm probably going to include in the offer, because I just think it's like for anyone posting on Instagram, it is the stupidest way to grow your account. Like it is by doing reaction videos. So literally you just go find viral videos in your niche, you watch it and then you spend 30 seconds to a minute like reacting to it. So I think part of our offer will be like, we'll send you 10 videos, 10 viral videos in your niche. You just watch it, react to it, send us the footage of you reacting to it. And then we'll, so I think it's going to be like a sexy offer.
I love that. And I've seen that a lot of like the split screen or where you actually see the video on video.
Yeah.
And
so you're like watching the video. It's like you watching it and then, or it could be split screen and then you just like talk about it, So if you're in like the coaching, coaching business owners niche, you could watch like entrepreneurship videos and it's cool because it's super organic. So there's what I like about what I'm building out with this offer is you'll have like the scripted element, which is like, I'm going to provide value. Like here's 10 ways to, find more clients or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have the reel the reaction videos, which is like really authentic and organic. And then the other piece that we're thinking about doing is doing like once a month, 60-minute interview with whoever the person is. And then we just chop that into reels as well. So now you're getting like interview style reels. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I'm like,
cool. And it's always great when you have people helping you with like a chunk of something that you can piece off into multiple pieces of content. Because that's such a struggle for a lot of people. It's like, I have these ideas or I have the bandwidth and I can actually record these things, but like, I don't know where to start and I don't know how to repurpose it. So you're like giving them like a one and done. It's like, do this. Yeah. This will turn into a month's worth of content.
Yeah, there's 100%. There's so many pieces to it that people really get stuck. Like sometimes it's the ideas. Like they know there's ideas, but then when they sit down to do it, they're like just drawing a blank. It's like the blank page syndrome. It's like,
even content creators, like we can do it for other people, but sometimes even if we're doing it for ourselves, it's like, what do I do?
All the time. And the biggest hack with that is I believe this so much. This is what I do for all of my content virtually, whether it's for my clients or for myself, is write down your ideas the second they come to you. Even if it's inconvenient and you have to get up off the couch and go get your phone to write a note, just like one sentence, just write it down. Because then when you sit down during your scheduled time to create, you now have a giant bucket of ideas. Because what happens is you'll have all these amazing ideas while you're at the gym. You're working out, your blood's flowing, you're getting ideas. And then you go home and, maybe the next day you're like, oh, I had all these ideas. Like, what were they? And then you're like, I can't remember any of them,
Totally. Yeah.
So
or
you got to write that stuff
if you're
down.
like me and you're an insomniac, sometimes they come to me like in the middle of the night when I'm like in this weird fog. Make sure that like your notes are also coherent enough. Because I'll go back. I remember, like, I don't know if I was like on drugs or what, but I remember having this idea. I just don't remember what it was. I'll go to my notes and I'll be so excited. And then I'm like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah. There's do you watch Seinfeld at all? There's a great, a Seinfeld episode where Jerry like wakes up in the middle of the night and writes down a joke that he's thinking of. And then he wakes up in the morning. It's exactly that. And he like reads it. He's like, what does that mean? Yeah. It's
so frustrating. It's like in the moment, it's such a brilliant idea. Like, and it'll come to you again, like when you're like half sleeping, but still, like I do that all the time. And I do think it's important to make sure that you're writing those notes down.
Got to write down your ideas.
So you have like a little bit of context.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Super cool. And I love that. And I think, and I kind of want to go down this rabbit hole a little bit because you mentioned like the idea that you want to use for reels and like helping pitch these ideas of reaction videos and stuff. And one thing that I've noticed that I think is really cool is it kind of gets you out of that rut of like developing your own hook. Because for a long time it was like, we're using AI, right? Like help me come up with hooks for this content topic or whatever. And you're trying to figure out how to write that into a script right off the bat in short form video with these reaction videos. And with, I don't know if you've seen them where it's like weird things happening and then people will cut to an edit of like them kind of taking over whatever that weird thing was. Like say like a car falling on them or whatever. And then they'll kind of like react in a certain way where they're like on the ground, like off a car, whatever. The video itself is the hook. And I think that's really cool too. You don't actually have to script that in. People are already visually hooked on what they're seeing in those first, 5 seconds that they're already going to watch. Because
you're using intentionally videos that went viral to react to. So you're already, so it's already baked in. Yeah. And then you're just adding. And now what that allows you to do, which is really important, is it allows you to get a little bit, you might not get the full virality of it, but get a little bit of the virality so that you're getting in front of new faces on Instagram, and then they're seeing you and they're saying, and then there's a chance they're going to follow you, like your video, and then Instagram will show them more. So I know it's like, and I see creators who are awesome and they're doing all these videos and they're not doing reaction videos. I'm like, this is just like and it's so easy. Like it's so easy. So I'm actually, so I'm creating this offer, but I was thinking the other day, I was like, what I really want though, is I want a case study of this exact system. Like I want someone with no followers, basically, and I don't want to grow there. And so I decided I'm going to be my own case study because I have 60 followers on Instagram right now. And so over the next 3 months, I'm going to post twice a day with these exact scripts, reaction videos, and the interview videos. I've been paying someone to interview me, and I'll probably use this as well, like split this up. And then I'm just going to post twice a day and like see if I can grow it like crazy, and hopefully I can, and then be like, look, and then I'm going to post on Facebook, like, guys, I grew my account by, 10,000, 20,000 followers in a month or 2 months, so anyways, it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait to see how that goes. And
I'll let you know how it goes.
By all means, like if you want someone else to be a use case, because this starts to take off and you're like, I need more clients. Let's do this.
Seriously.
I will happily do it. I love playing around with different content ideas. And it works really well for like the affiliate marketing space as well. Because people are just like, how can I get in front of my camera and talk about these things that aren't super obvious or blatant, but like get people interested in my content. And then they're wondering like, wait, how does she have that kind of lifestyle, or what does she do for work? And then they get curious. So it's really just kind of like piquing people's curiosity. And I think those videos are such a great way to achieve that.
And then you have the podcast, so you can naturally lead people to your podcast, and and I don't know if you have like an email list you're doing as well, but so you can lead people to that, and then anyway, it's
super
magic.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't expecting to go that deep into that conversation, but I love
it's so interesting.
The entire
super
idea
excited.
of short form video, and I think that's the cool thing about understanding and researching these trends is like the whole idea of a hook has changed in just the last year. Of like it's not verbal anymore. Like a hook can actually be a silent video that people are attracted to and immediately catches their attention, and then it turns into something else. And I think that that's really cool, because who would have thought?
I know.
Like the whole reason we connected is because we work together and you're a blog writer. So tell me a little bit about like what you did previously and how it turned into I'm going to interact with clients and work for myself and create the lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, this is definitely like, man, it's like when you look back at the journey, it's always like so bizarre, you're like trying to pull lessons from it, but there's just like random things that happened. And so I was,
and also sometimes you don't stop to actually reflect. Like you're just hustling so hard that you're like, where was I before?
Literally, you're like, I don't even know. I don't know how I got here. So I actually was in full-time ministry. I was a pastor for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not religious anymore, but I was a pastor for 5 years, just like Protestant, from like 19 years old to like 24 years old.
Oh, wow.
And then I kind of left all of that. I got married at 19. So I've been married 11 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
Isn't that wild?
It's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually funny. It's like, it's more common in the US, and in Europe, dude, we freak people out. They're like, how is like nobody gets married?
Like
that
we're
young.
not mature enough for that.
It's very unusual. Yeah. So anyway, I got out of ministry, decided that wasn't for me. And then I had this kind of giant question mark about like what I was going to do. And so it was actually like a really difficult time emotionally. I was very confused, and I didn't know, but there were two things that I felt that maybe I could do. And one of those things was, or the main one was writing. Because I love to write. I'd been writing consistently since I was 12. Like I always was doing something. I was blogging. It was about different topics. I was writing stories. I just loved to write. I always thought it was like a really incredible form of expression. Yeah. So I was like, I'd love to write. Like, and so, there were basically two opportunities at the time. So whenever, and I think it's really important, whenever you have an idea for something you want to do, I think the first thing you should do is think about like, what are the possible opportunities in your immediate vicinity? Who are the people you know? Who are the connections you have? Like, just because I think a lot of times there's so much opportunity directly around us that we just, don't even acknowledge because because you don't want to approach that person or this or that. But really, like, a lot of it. So there were two things, and one was doing. I was like doing part-time college at the time, and they needed a writer for the school newspaper, which was like $10 per article. Like, if you write, it was just like a low. But I was like, hey, it would teach me to write. Maybe I could become a journalist or something. So I applied for that, and I actually did get it. But then I also had a connection with a guy named Aaron Orendorff. Do you know him?
I don't.
Okay, so he used to be the editor-in-chief of Shopify. He's actually quite big in the content marketing. He's done really well. He's if you look him up, he's a really cool guy. But I knew him actually because he was my uncle for 11 years. So I actually had a familial, and they got divorced, but I had a familial connection to him. And I've known Aaron since I was literally like 10 years old.
Okay. Wow.
So, and at the time, actually, Aaron was living in the same little city in Oregon, Klamath Falls, that I was living in. And he was working at the community college as a instructor. And he was also writing online. He had just kind of started getting into like writing for Forbes and like all these different kind of cool things. And that's what ended up sort of launching his career to the next level.
Yeah.
But I came to him during that time that he was working as an instructor. Well, I texted him. I said, hey, dude, no, we haven't talked in a while, but like, I know you do writing. Like, I don't know a lot about what you do, but I know you do like online writing. Is it possible to like connect and like see, like, can you teach me what you do? Basically is what I wanted. I wanted to learn what he did and see if it was something I was even interested in doing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah. So I bought him lunch or something, and we sat down, and like, we had actually written together because my senior project was a book, and he was my, like, for your senior project, you need like is it a mentor or like your, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
it's
you have the
mentor,
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the guy. And so we had done a lot of writing together in the past, most of it like religious stuff. Cause he was actually a pastor as well for a while. So there's all these like
small world.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So anyways, I went and talked to him, and after like kind of explaining to me what he did, he was like, hey, why don't, like, I have too much writing to do. Why don't you ghostwrite for me? And I was literally like, I have no idea how to do this. Like, literally, like, so.
But did you already have a little bit of that? Like, yeah, I'll do it.
So actually it's really interesting. So the first thing I kind of like paused because I was not expecting that. Yeah. And I literally said to him, I said, I don't think I'm good enough. Like, I literally said that because I was like, dude, I don't, like, I would love to, but like, I don't think I'm good enough. And I remember he just said, you're good enough. Cause he'd seen some of my stuff, and it was like, okay, like, all right, I'm good enough. And so for the next, like, it was probably like 8 months of just boot camp. Like,
but I also love that he said that, and that, like, I wonder if he knows that was probably like,
he does
such a trajectory of your career. Like, that's such a cool moment.
Yeah, it was a really special, and I've told him, and I've told that story because I think it's amazing, and it shows how everybody needs that person. Yeah, I really believe everybody needs that. Like, a lot of people are like A+, hustle, but I think we all need that person who just tells us we're good enough.
Yes. 100%. I don't think anyone else would be where we are without certain connections too.
Yeah, most people aren't going to tell you that. It's like, there's this great video from Alex Ramosi where he's talking about, like, for a long time in entrepreneurship, it's like one person in the audience clapping. It's just you. It's like no one's rooting for you until you don't need it. And so that was really big for me, for him to, and he is still today the hardest editor I've ever had.
Wow.
He was brutal, but he was nice, but he was really honest. And it made me the writer I am today, to be honest, because he was just really hard on me, in a loving way. And to
have that from the get-go, like this being your kind of introductory, like, here's how I'm going to get into this industry for having someone who was so influential and experienced, but also tough on you, and that not scaring you away is also, that's a big moment too, knowing that like,
Yeah.
if that thickened up your skin and you were able to get through that, then like that's all you need. Like especially for someone to be tough on you as a beginner, like that's huge. A lot of people would be like, maybe I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah. Well, there's this, yeah, and it was tough. Like there was actually, so the first article I wrote, I remember I was like really trying to sink my teeth into it, like do the best I could. And then I sent it over and it was a Google Doc. And I remember like watching, I was like, what? Cause he like went in to watch and I like went in to watch him like see what he was going to do. Like as he was with his, and he just started like he'd delete a paragraph, delete this. And I called Michaela as he was doing it, my wife. And I was like, it's over. I tried. Like he's going to fire me. I literally was 100% convinced.
You're like, the article's like, disappearing.
That's it. Yep. Literally like, dude, 70% of it, I swear to God, he rewrote. Like it was a ton of rewrite. And I was like, well, I gave it a shot, going back to school. And I remember he called me and I was like, here we go. And he called me and he's like, dude, great work.
You're like, wait, what did you say?
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Great work. And he was just super encouraging. He was like, dude, no, like it's better than it looked with my edits. He's like, you clearly like are going to nail this. And he just kept kind of encouraging me and not letting me, get too in my own head about it. And then he's like, here, let me give you 3 more, and then it just kind of like,
amazing.
it just kept going. And he taught me this motto that I've carried with me till today. And I think it's super powerful. And it's his hashtag he created, but it's let's get rejected. And which kind of sounds bizarre, but it's actually, so one of the big things I was trying to do when I was first getting into writing is I felt like because I was ghostwriting for Aaron, but I felt like I really needed my own byline. Like I needed some stuff online that had my name on it,
Yeah.
And ideally for like large publications that people knew about. So I started I started pitching. I pitched entrepreneur.com. I pitched success.com. I was pitching, all these big sites. And and Aaron taught me how to do it. He said, write a full article and just send it to them. And, and if they don't respond in a week, in the same thread, copy and paste the same email and send it again. And he said, do that till they reply. And he said, the goal is to get rejections. Like that's your goal. So I would literally, when I would get a rejection, I probably got like 10 before I finally got one published. But every time I'd get a rejection, I would literally print it out and put it on my desk. I was like, yes, another rejection. Like it was evidence that I was taking action and I almost would just celebrate them,
And like, also not just taking action, but like following up, taking action again and again until you were noticed. Like somebody had to recognize and notice who you were in order to give you a response. Because I've done that even with like SEO outreach for like getting back. It's like, I would rather you tell me no 100 times than not reply to me at all.
Then ignore me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the thing is like some of these people I would follow up like 7 times.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't want to bug them or don't want to like irritate them, but who cares? Like, just do it. Because the worst thing they're going to say to you is no. And again, that's way better than now now you can move on. Like that's way better than not getting a response. Like just bug the heck out of them.
Or not taking action. And the more you learn to adapt to getting those rejections, the more you're going to get comfortable with like reaching out to anyone.
Yep. 100%.
I love that.
So get it like and I think that applies to pretty much anything. Like if you're trying to get on podcasts, if you're trying to, collaborate with people or find clients, like I think that idea of let's get rejected, like let's go out there, let's collect rejections. Because people are gonna say yes too, and that's gonna be like, oh shit, somebody said yes. Like, so it's a really effective, like, sort of mental model to force yourself to go out there and do stuff maybe you wouldn't do otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a similar episode with Danny Walsh a while back, and the whole theme of that conversation, which I was very unexpected because we talk about a lot of things from like community building and what we do with, agency work and ambassadorships and things like that. And the theme of the conversation ended up turning into the power of asking, which was a very similar theme to what this is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and ask for the things that you need. Though literally the worst thing that could happen from you doing that is someone just saying no. And like, who the hell cares? That just means that like you were where you were before. At least you asked. And there's a really good chance too that along the way, people are going to say yes. And, exponentially, you're going to be further ahead than you were if you didn't ask a single question.
Yep. I've been consistently surprised at the number of people who have said yes along the way, for sure.
Yeah.
Like when I've done that. Yeah. So
Cool.
Yeah. So I did that. And then after working with Aaron, it kind of led into, I think he had a few clients that he had decided not to work with. And then it was kind of natural. And he's like, dude, I'll give them to you. And that kind of gave me, so I ended up with a full-time gig for about 2 years at carrot.com, which is it's a website software. It's actually similar to ClickFunnels, but it's in the real estate investing niche.
Okay. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, they actually basically do for real estate investors what ClickFunnels does generally for entrepreneurs. They build, help them build sales funnels that get the leads that they need and stuff like that.
So you're well versed in the whole SaaS industry already. Like,
yes, most of what I've done is working with SaaS companies and helping their blogs and SEO. That's like 90%, or maybe 70%. That's a lot of what I've done. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and from there, man, it's just been like riding the referral wave for the most part, which has been really great. And I'm kind of at the point now where I really want to have there's freelancing and there's getting referrals and then figuring out what the client needs and then serving that. And it's awesome. But the problem is referrals are super unpredictable. You don't know when they're going to come. And so it's kind of hard to sleep at night with that type of system, which is why I'm excited about the new offer, because I'm looking at doing this in a much more systematic way of getting the leads, having the offer, having a team that does the work. And I think
really opens some clientele opportunity as well. Like there's really anyone that can benefit from that sort of offer.
Oh, it's a huge, And like in terms of the pricing, even I'm really trying to do a price that feels like just a fucking no-brainer. I really want it to be an offer that no one else is kind of doing for people or isn't common at least. So that's kind of my game plan. But
that's exciting. In fact, I already probably know like 20 people that I can refer you to.
Please do. That would be
something
great.
like that they would benefit from. I love it.
Yes.
I have a question, and it really goes along with this whole escape artist mentality. And I've had people kind of ask me something similar too. And, it can be different when it's not on your own terms, or if you have an idea of how you want to become self-employed or work for yourself or grow business or whatever it is. And it's not completely in your hands, even though you've been planning it for a while, like a layoff, like that can be really tough.
Yep.
At what point do you think you can feel comfortable enough or have the confidence to say, like, I think I'm ready? And maybe like a lot of time there's no specific answer to that, but like what would be your response to that?
So ready to go from like A to B, kind of
like full-time work to I can do this myself.
That's okay. So I can explain, because I worked at Carrot for 2 years, and it actually was a large felt like quite a large risk to do that, right? So I think this is really this is probably my answer. So because I was working at Carrot, really solid job. They were probably they don't really fire people very much, so probably never going to get rid of me. It's a great gig, really great company, and I loved it. But what happened is, and it was I was working for them, and then a few people saw my work at Carrot, and they were one of them was a real estate investor. Another guy, I was just I was networking, and so I got a few referrals here and there, and I ended up having some clients, and it was kind of unintentional, but I ended up having some clients on the side to Carrot. So I was working full time for Carrot. It was probably I want to say it was probably $70K a year at the time, which is decent for the stage I was at. And then I got I want to say 3 clients that sort of all came within 2 to 3 months, and were all really great to work with, like really great, felt very consistent. And it actually got to the point where my income with my clients was
higher than your full-time
than my full-time paycheck. So and I was spending like 70% of my time on my client work, because it was remote gig, so it's like
Right.
full time. So like, and I almost like, I was getting to the point where I was like, I feel like people are gonna figure it out, because I'm not, I'm just kind of felt like I was doing the bare minimum at the full-time job. And so I was really like, and so it actually, what happened is I got to the point where I had I think 3 clients, and I went to Michaela, and she always helps me with these decisions. And I was like, should I think I need to fire one of the clients, is what I said. Cause I was like, cause in my head, I'm like, I can't get rid of the full-time job. Like that's the safe thing. So I was like, I think I need to fire one of these clients. And she's like, well, why don't you just get rid of Carrot? Cause that makes the clients make more money. And it was like, because it was difficult, because I was the sole provider for my daughter and my wife. My wife isn't working. And it was like a really kind of psychologically difficult thing. So I asked, I thought, so, I try not to make decisions just like I do make decisions fast, but I try not to do it too fast. And so I thought to myself, like, what's a way I could do that would feel safe? Like, wouldn't feel scary. Right. And
I also think it's funny that you say, you asked your wife, and as spouses do, they help us kind of bring out the obvious that we don't think about.
Yeah, totally.
That being like your clients, your independent clients are literally paying you more than your full-time gig, which is taking up more bandwidth, where you could be getting more clients of your own. And how we as humans don't come to that conclusion ourselves right off the bat.
Yeah. And this is like such a psychological, so many people get this wrong, because people think, oh, I have a full-time job, that's safe.
Yep.
Versus 3 like clients. It's like, but that's to my mind, that's like, as long as it's recurring, like work, that's 3 full-time gigs.
Yes.
So if one of them gets rid of you, you still have 2. Now, what's riskier? This one where like they get rid of you and now you're fucked, or like 3 and then one gets rid of you, still have 2. You know what I mean? So like,
and where you also have a little bit more control over the narrative and how things go, and what the future holds with getting new clients.
Tons more control.
So much stock into having a full-time position where they could say tomorrow they don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and they think and there's this narrative that it's secure, which is crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. It's just blatantly false. It's totally blatantly false.
We have no control.
No. And I think there's life lessons there too, that like we have to, in all aspects of our life, like we as humans, we have to learn to accept that everything is uncertain, and all we can do is our best with like what we're given, and continue working and hustling in the situations we're in. Because like a meteor could hit the earth tomorrow and kill us all. Like, it is fully uncertain. We have no idea. And that applies to every aspect of our lives.
Totally. So, in fact, that's so true. I think it was just yesterday, I had a friend of mine post something on LinkedIn about like 5 hard truths of consulting. So basically, like, he's a contractor now, quit his full-time job, and is freelancing. And he was sharing the hard truths about what life has been like since then. And he asked for commentary, or if people agree, disagree, what they would add. And I added, like, life is uncertain, so you might as well enjoy it while you can. And what I love about having this conversation with you right now is like, that applies to everything, but you are doing what a lot of people have been scared to pull the trigger on, which is working for themselves and becoming self-employed, but also that extra bit of like, you might as well enjoy it. Like, you decided, not only am I going to change my professional like work style, but I'm going to change my lifestyle for me and my family, and move and do other things that we can enjoy. And I'm super inspired by that. So can you share a little bit about that, like moving and changing your lifestyle completely, and how that's been?
Yeah, it's a story I love to share, because it's really interesting. Because me and my wife, we got married at 19. We both grew up in the same small town of 30,000 people. So like, and the furthest I'd gone was like Disneyland to California. Like, we never really, my parents, we never went outside the US. when I was like 22, maybe, Michaela and I did a cruise to Mexico. That was my first time like outside of the country. But like, a cruise is,
You're still with other like Americans that are living the tourist life.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and you're on a boat 90% of the time. So then what happened is we had Andy when I was 26-ish. And Michaela decided, we didn't plan this before we had Andy, but Michaela decided she didn't want to go back to work to be with Andy. And so then what happened is I was full-time at Carrot at the time, and she left her job, which was like in person, right?
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden we realized that we didn't have to be anywhere specific. I was remote, and maybe
not being old enough to be in an official school yet, probably, right?
No, at this time she was like 6 months old. Like she was very young. Okay. And so we were like, shoot, we can be anywhere. And we'd never traveled, to be honest, like traveling wasn't even on my radar. I felt like I was kind of like just a small town guy. I didn't like think much about traveling, and I was kind of like nervous, but Michaela really wanted to do traveling. And so, so we were like, but what sounded fun to me is like, okay, let's go somewhere for like a month. Cause we can, like, let's just like go somewhere crazy.
Yeah,
so we're like,
play. Yeah.
Yeah. So we decided to go to Hawaii. So we booked, so I think like 3 months before, we booked a trip to Hawaii for a month, and we rented a car and got an Airbnb and all this stuff. We were really excited. We're like, this will be like it'll change things up, mix it up. We have the new baby, so it'll be good to kind of get out of the house and just be somewhere new. And so cool. Well, a week before we're going to go to Hawaii, there's a hurricane, and the hurricane, it was on Kauai, and the hurricane just like, it messed up the Airbnb, or like we weren't able to go because of it. Mm-hmm. And it was a week before, and we were like, oh my God, we were really looking forward to it. It sucks. I'm like, can you get our money back? We could, which was great. And we were kind of like determined to figure something out, because we really had like, been excited.
The mindset had already shifted into we're traveling. So.
I was like, we're going somewhere. And so Michaela, we're doing this research. I remember we're laying in bed like 10 p.m. Michaela's doing all this research on her phone. And she says, what if we went to Australia? Which is like,
I love the contrast.
So far. And I didn't even have at the time a conception of how far it was. But I literally said to her, I said, what the hell's in Australia? Like desert and crocodiles and like kangaroos. Like, why would we go to Australia?
And really, really big spiders.
Yes. I was like, what? There's like the weirdest. And so she, it's so funny. And she, and then she's like, well, look at this. And she showed me a place called Cairns, Australia, which is, I believe it's the West Coast. And it's the oldest rainforest in the world. And it's beautiful. It's got like palm tree beaches, super rainforesty. And I was like, shoot, that looks cool. And then I was like, is it like possible to like book everything? And she's like, let me look. And she's like a whiz with booking stuff.
I love this.
And so long story short, she booked it in a week, a full 1 month trip with a car rental. And it was crazy. And our daughter was 9 months old. And like an aspect of this, I think we like absolutely did not even consider beforehand, or like think about or conceptualize, was that the flight was like 20 hours.
A full day.
Was so long with the 9-month-old who loved to cry. Like, so it was.
You guys are brave.
It was wild. Yeah. And so we learned a lot. So we did it, and it was like one of the coolest. It was really mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing in a weird way, because we just went basically as far as you can go across the globe, to Australia. Like, if you're going to go somewhere and you're nervous, like Australia is great because it's very easy. Like it's very nice. It's,
part of the reason it worked out though, is because you didn't really have a whole lot of time to change your mind about it. Because it escalated so quickly. You're like, well, I guess we're in.
For sure. Like, it was really like just a crazy. And we were like, okay, like we're going. And then, we just did it. Like, there was no, like, once you're on the plane, you can't be like, can you land this thing? Baby's crying. Like, you're on the plane, you deal with it,
Yeah. You're going around the entire planet.
Oh my God. And the jet lag was so bad. It was unbelievable. I couldn't even process information. Like, It was crazy. But we had the time of our lives. Like it was just one of the coolest, because we went somewhere as our own family. You know, we were living in the same town as like both of our parents. So it was very like, you know, so we kind of like felt like we kind of disconnected and made our own family a little bit during this time. And like I wrote this like silly book during that time. We just like, it was really beautiful. And we learned, and I drove on the left side of the road, by the way, because Australia's left side. So I had to do that, which was terrifying. And so there's like all these just crazy things we got to do and got to see and experience and learn that like traveling is really fun.
Hello, my fellow digital entrepreneurs. It's Laura here, and I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce you to something truly transformative. Picture this. You're armed with the most cutting-edge digital marketing strategies, equipped with high-income skills, and empowered to establish and run a thriving online business in just a matter of days. That's where Digital Wealth Academy comes into play. This program isn't just your typical online course. It's a comprehensive journey meticulously crafted to guide you from where you are to where you dream of being. With Digital Wealth Academy, you'll learn everything from creating your own digital products to how to launch your business strategically. You can dive into funnel building, branding, email marketing, and how to build trust with your audience. What's even better is you'll gain exclusive access to the master resale rights to the course. So even if you don't have your own product yet, you can sell the course yourself to get your business started. Imagine rebranding and sharing this invaluable knowledge as your own while reaping the rewards time and time again. Head to www.sidehustlelaura.com/DWA or click the link in the show notes to step into the world of digital entrepreneurship today. Remember, your journey to success begins now. Keep believing and keep breaking free.
And
what an adventure. I love that you threw in like, and I wrote a book.
It's such a silly, like,
another sidebar here. I have to ask this question, and maybe you don't know the answer, but maybe you're like me and you're kind of crazy about like personality assessments. But like, I'm just sensing a lot of like similarities, and I think the way that you think and act. Do you know what you are in the Enneagram?
I don't, but I would guess it's similar to you.
Okay. I'm fascinated by that. And I'm like really into personality assessments and understanding.
I'll take it though. And I'll let you know. Cause I'm curious. Okay. Yeah, I'll take it.
I won't. Then I'm not going to say what I think you are, but when you take it, let me know, because I would love to know. Cause I think I'm also getting really good at profiling people.
Okay.
Maybe I'm delusional.
I'll be curious. No, I'll be curious if you get it right. So I'll take it and then I'll send it to you. Yeah, 100%.
Very fascinating. I used to be super into Myers-Briggs, but I think the Enneagram has a lot more substance behind it. And it also has like a spiritual background. And it's more based on like your fear of certain things and what you're living out in your passion and how you connect with other people. And I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what you are. At least I've narrowed it down.
I love it. To a few.
Now I'm really curious.
The Myers-Briggs is like the 4 letters, right?
Yes.
And then the Enneagram is what?
It's
what is it?
1 through 9.
Oh, it's just a number?
It's just a number. Yeah.
Like one number or like 4 numbers?
Just a single number with a wing. And your wing can be either side of your like actual number. So I'm not going to tell you what I am. I know a lot of my listeners probably already know because I talk about it quite a bit. But then your wing can either be like either side of it. So if you're a 2, you can be with a 3 wing or with a 1 wing. Or some people say I'm such a 2 that I'm a 2 with a 2 wing. And the 2 is the helper. So they also have their own like avatar. But there's it sounds so simplified because it is just a number, but I also feel like it is the most complex when you actually do the research behind it.
Once you learn about it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have Michaela take it too and see what we both are. Cause
this girl has a future in like being a travel agent or something.
I can't tell you how many people have told her that. Oh my God. I'm serious. Like that is a common, she is such an interesting lady. She's not one for the camera, but she reads, I think she reads 150 books a year, every year for the last few decades. She is it's her favorite thing in the whole world.
We did talk a little bit about how she wants to write a book too, right?
She needs to write a book. Yeah, she needs to. She hasn't. I need to get, but I posted about it on Facebook. I think I posted something.
And I talked about, because I used to work for selfpublishing.com.
And you shared that.
Connections. I know. See, this just keeps getting more
I
bust.
know.
First of all, I need to meet Michaela because I feel like we would have a lot to talk about.
You-
But also,
she-
I would love to help her with
yeah.
that.
You're the type of person she loves because you're like me. Like she loves intense people who are like very
Yep.
like exuberant and like talkative, and that's her favorite because she's like
Yeah.
she's more like a little more quiet and like just like
But she
sit.
sounds
Yeah,
like a planner. She like
totally, totally.
she's very good at making things happen, which is great because I think people like you probably kind of pull her out so that she's in a safe
Yeah.
space to do the things that she wants to
Oh
do.
yeah, if it was just her, she'd never like leave the couch. She'd just be reading, you know.
Yeah.
But like us together, it's this nice push and pull that ends up functioning really well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have both of you in my personalities. Like there's a part of me that's
Yeah.
like after being an extrovert for like 3 weeks straight and going out and socializing so much, I want like a silent retreat where I just read
Yeah.
books before
To
I
be
go off on
alone.
like another bender. Like
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, everybody needs some of that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool.
Totally
I love
get
that balance. Okay. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I had to ask about the Enneagram, but now
Okay.
you are living this lifestyle because you are definitely a man of adventure now. So what happened after Australia?
Okay, so we went to Australia. It was amazing, really opened our mind. We came back to our hometown and we're driving into our hometown. And I absolutely, as we drove into it, I remember thinking, I don't want to fucking be here. Like it was instantaneous. I want to see the world. I want to be somewhere cool. Like this is something we're able to do. And I want to do this, you know? And
so that was like a literal awakening for you.
100%. Like Michaela and I both, and so basically for the next, it was like the next, because that was like in February. So it would have been like the next 6 months. I just bitched and complained. Like I just whined to Michaela about not wanting to live here. But we owned our house. Like we had bought our house.
Oh.
You know, yeah, all our parents were there, all our family was there. Like it was kind of like, it wasn't easy necessarily to leave. But I kept complaining nonetheless. And so then Michaela's like, hey, why don't we book another trip? So we booked a trip. It was for August, or no, it was for September to go to Rome for 10 days. Okay. So we're like, let's go see Italy. Let's go to Rome. Cool. But then I kept complaining, kept whining, and I wore Michaela down. And this is the craziest shit. But 1 month before we were to leave in September, so it was in August, Michaela says to me, because I'm like whining, I don't want to stay here. I'm sick of Klamath. And she says, okay, what if we just didn't come back from our trip? I'm like, we can't.
She probably said what you had kind of been thinking, but didn't.
100%. Yeah. But it seems so crazy. You can't not come back. That's insane. It's 1 month away. You can't. What are you talking about? We can't not come back. We have all this shit. Like we have so much
a child,
stuff.
we have family, we have a house.
Like, what do you mean we're not going to come back? But then we're like, we pause. We're like, okay, is that possible? Like to do that, to just not come back? And okay, so we kind of start problem solving. Like, okay, we have all this stuff. Well, we could get a storage unit and just like put some stuff in there if we need to. Okay, we have the house. That's a big one. So I called our real estate agent. I just said like, hey, we got this like wild idea. This crazy. If we listed the house, how quick do you think, based on the market right now, do you think we could sell it? And he's like, oh, it was just like a kind of a fortunate time. He's like, the market's really hot right now. I think we could sell in 30 days, 60 days. So it's like, okay, so that's
really happening, I think.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I talked to Michaela, we kind of like racked our brains for like, what are the other issues? And we did all this research, obviously, on like, visa situations, how long you can be somewhere, all that stuff. And all the pieces kind of came together. And I called the agent that same day. And I said, list it. Like, get in here tomorrow, take pictures. He's like, great. And he listed it for us. And we just went ham on like selling stuff, putting stuff in storage. We had a ton of people help, and we didn't even know like what was after Rome. We were like,
you're like, we just know we're not coming back. We don't know where we're going.
Exactly. 100%. And like, I was so stupid. Like, I didn't even know if these places had Wi-Fi. So I like bought like a Wi-Fi thing that's international, and like it sucked, but I bought one of those things, and it was just really a wild time. And we ended up, in 1 month, we actually, it took like 3 months to sell our house. We actually had a buyer, they backed out. And then, so it kind of sucked because we actually had to spend.
Did you leave while your house was for sale?
Yeah, it was still listed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we left. So we were out of there with our daughter and us, and we went to Rome for 10 days and had kind of a whirlwind of a trip that was really fun. And then for a year and a half, we just would look for an Airbnb in another country and go to that Airbnb for like
what has been your favorite of all of them?
Okay, I have a few favorites. Probably the first one that comes to mind that I actually wish I could live there, but the visa situation is more difficult. Is Edinburgh, Scotland.
It's my favorite city. It's my favorite city in the world.
Oh, so you've been there. It's so special.
It so much.
I love it so much.
I still will lay in bed and fantasize about having a life there.
Literally, it's such a special place.
And it's so walkable, and the rich history. I would literally walk down the street and just look at a building and cry like an asshole.
Literally,
I'm so inspired by this.
Like a total idiot. Yeah, totally. I know, me too, because they're so pretty, and it's just, man, there's
everything.
I love it so much. Yeah, I really love Edinburgh.
In fact, the coach, Rami, that I wanted to connect you with, and I think I did, online.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Lives in
does
Edinburgh.
He live there?
I met him. I met up with him there. Yeah. In fact,
no way.
We had a drink at a pub. My husband, and he helped my husband come up with the idea for his business because he's an audiobook producer now. It's called Audiobook Masters. So cool. They had a conversation, and the business stemmed from that conversation. And I joked with Rami that night that we had a drink together at the pub, I didn't know yet until we landed in London the following week that I was pregnant with my daughter, London.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Wow. It's so wild how this stuff happens.
Yeah. And I believe wholly in synchronicities, but it's so funny that
I love it.
Edinburgh, because that's such a special place for me too.
Yeah, it's just, there really is, anyone who's traveling, you got to go to the big ones. You got to go to Rome, you got to go to Paris. But Edinburgh is just, I highly recommend it. And a lot of people want to go to Scotland.
I actually have not been to many places like you before, making the decision to travel. It was kind of I haven't done a whole lot. My husband's from Canada. I've been to Canada several times. I've been to Mexico. And then we've been to England. He played a wedding over there. He's a singer-songwriter. And while over there, I was I'm not going to not go to Scotland while I'm this close. I have to.
100%.
We went to Edinburgh. And what I love about it, in comparison to the idea of being in places that are very touristy and larger cities, is Edinburgh is so beautiful and it's busy, but it still has such a small town.
Oh my God, such a homey
vibe to it. I loved everything. Even when it was the hustle and bustle, it still felt so charming.
It's so charming. I know, God damn it. I love it so much. Yep. I love it. Yeah. And we spent 3 months in Scotland. So we also went to Glasgow, and we went to, we drove all over the place in Scotland. We went to Inverness, Isle of Skye and stuff as well.
Did you spend time in the Highlands?
Yes. Yeah. It was really cool. It's freaking cold there. It was freezing. Yep. And we actually went there in winter, which is insane. Yeah, so funny. But but by far, out of everywhere I went, Edinburgh was my favorite for sure. So you went to you chose right. Edinburgh was the place to go, 100%. Cool. So other than that, another one that's man. I mean, I really love Lisbon because I live here, and it's really special to me because of the people.
What did you settle on Lisbon?
Yeah. So the truth is that we did that 18-month stint in Europe, and then COVID hit, and we kind of were thinking we really should go back to the US, recoup, and then because at the time people are how are you just in Europe for that long without a visa? Because we didn't get anything, we just had passports. So what you can do is with the Schengen areas, you can just do 3 months in a Schengen area, 3 months somewhere else that has a different policy, 3 months back, 3 months back. You can just bounce around, and nobody gives a shit. So anyone can just go do that right now. And it's great. But, we wanted to, Andy was getting older, and we knew that she had to be in school at some point. So we were kind of thinking, okay, we know we want to be in Europe or one of these places we've been to that we love. but we need to like figure it out. And then COVID hit, so that added kind of a wrench into stuff. And we kind of wanted to be back in the US because we didn't know how things were going to play out. And so we came back to the US. We were with my parents for like a month while we were kind of figuring out where we wanted to be. And then we decided like Hawaii seems cool. So we decided we'd go to Hawaii for a year was the original plan. So we found a place and we went there. And then we ended up being there for 2 years just because COVID hit and the restrictions the restrictions were insane. And so like it was really hard to kind of do anything for the first 6 months. And then
at least you were in a beautiful place.
Yeah, 100%. It was gorgeous. We had the beach right next to us. It was amazing. And so yeah, we spent 2 years in Hawaii, which was really fun. But like it's funny. I have a lot of people are like, you went from Hawaii to like Portugal. I'm like, Portugal is so much better. Like I like Hawaii, but it's still American. You still drive everywhere. It's also it's effing hot all the time. Yeah. And I wilt, man. Like I need some cold season sometimes.
Or at least like a little bit of like transition.
Oh God, it's just always hot and our AC was terrible. So I did enjoy our time there, but like it was the whole time we were there, it never felt like that's where I want to be forever.
Especially if you already knew that you had like the Europe travel bug. Like if you already knew you love places like Edinburgh, like Hawaii is probably not the long-term place for you.
Nope, it wasn't. And so like for the 2 years we were there, we did a lot of research to figure out like where we were going to go after that. Yeah. And so, you know, there was a lot of back and forth. We thought a lot about Paris because that was another place I really loved was Paris. We thought about the UK, but the UK had just gone through Brexit. So the visas are basically fucking impossible. Yep. So really like what it ended as we studied and researched, like it ended up being more a matter of like, where can we get a visa versus like, where do we want to be? And Portugal's great. And it is one of the places we visited. It's actually the first one we went to after Rome on our European visit. And we loved it. It wasn't one of the like first places we considered, but then just the more research we did, it kept coming up with like, it had one of the visas that was easiest to get. And really for us, like one of the big goals is the citizenship. So like, cause once you're a citizen, it doesn't matter which EU country you're a citizen in, you can live anywhere in the EU. Anywhere. So like, so that was like a big thing is like, okay.
I've done my own research on that too.
Yeah. So like,
what does it take to leave?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So like so Portugal has really great visas there. And so we decided, you know, let's do Portugal. And that's kind of like was the big thing. And we love Portugal too. We really, probably my favorite thing about Portugal is the humility of its people. Like it is a culture, like you have Paris and you have France and they're like very touristy and they like know what they got, you know, they know their hot shit. Like they're like, yep, we're cool. But Portugal is kind of still up and coming and it has a really humble culture that is just really welcoming. And, you know, we're trying to learn.
People that have traveled there with their families and their children tell me that it has been the best place to bring kids.
It's so, and Portugal, and another thing we loved about it too is Portugal and Lisbon specifically consistently ranks on like the safest city, safest country in the world.
That's amazing.
It's so safe. I walk we're dead in the city where we live. And I walk all the time on the weekend with my buddies getting beers at like 2 a.m. And I'll do it alone. Like
I've never felt uncomfortable.
I've never even thought like, what's that guy doing? What's, you know, like nothing. It feels there because there's other people out. There's lights on. It feels super safe. And like, it's just always kind of alive and homey and it's awesome. Like, I love it. Yeah. I love it so much.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was kind of, so then the moving to Portugal was super fucking hard. It's really challenging to deal, like it's challenging to do something in the, like even like getting your passport or going to the DMV, like it's tough, right? Like it's kind of a pain in the ass. You have to go, you got to wait in a stupid line. It sucks. Yeah. So like doing it with another country that is like basically the size of Oregon, or actually maybe I think it's smaller than Oregon. Like Portugal is very small.
Yeah.
That is like just now getting a little bit of wealth, but still pretty poor as a country. is super hard it's hard. It's hard logistically and it's hard emotionally because you have the logistical piece where their systems are just terrible. So like when you're trying to apply and do these things, everything is so like 10 times more tedious than in the US. They ask for things that are really redundant. Like they need, things that don't make really any sense, but you have to go get it for them anyways. Like I had to provide it's so stupid. Like I had to provide a notarized copy of my passport, which is illegal in Hawaii. It's different based on the state, but you can not notarize a copy of a passport in Hawaii. What I did, but you need it. You need it. So like what I did literally is I made a copy of my passport on a piece of paper. I wrote out that I claim that this is an authentic copy of my passport. And then I signed it. And I had the notary just certify that that's me that signed the piece of paper. Like, and then it has the stamp. And I gave that to them. And they're like, great. Like
that sounds so meta. Like to top it off, maybe like add a picture of you holding your passport with the notarized version of your passport.
It's so stupid. Like they just needed all these things that didn't even weren't really because the systems are different, right? Like US system is different. And even with taxes, like it gets kind of confusing. But anyway, so it's pretty wild. So we had to, we knew we were going to move to Portugal. And so we obviously started going through the process. We started the process in February and then we had to, we moved in November. So it was 10 months or 9 months, whatever that is, of process of doing this. And so, there's like getting all the documents to the company. We hired like these lawyers to help us, which was very, very helpful because they took us through every step. And so we sent over all this stuff. And then when it was like the hardest is to go to your appointment. You have to go to an appointment in San Francisco to like apply, to turn in all your stuff and apply for the visas.
Okay.
And for that appointment, you have to have a signed lease in Portugal. Right? You have to have like a signed lease agreement. Yeah. In Portugal. So we had got all the documents and we were other than the signed lease about 2 weeks before our booked appointment in San Francisco. And we were having a heck of a time like finding like it's less so now in Lisbon, but at the time it was like super hard to get a rental because demand had just flooded the market. And so people were making like these obnoxious offers to
and
get
you're doing it long distance. Just trying to get
so I'm like working with a Portuguese real estate agent who is amazing, and actually her daughter now babysits Andy. She's amazing. I love her so much. And so but it was crazy, and we were 2 weeks before, and we're like, we need a fucking place. Like otherwise, this appointment, like you can't. To book another one would be like 6 months out. Like it's just we can't. So I told our agent, and she was just sending us stuff, and we saw one that like looked decent, and we made some offers, kept getting rejected. Then one came in and we're like, okay, this looks good. We did like a quick, she showed us a tour of the place on video. We're like, okay, it looks pretty decent. And we were like, let's just do a crazy, like we need a place. Let's just make it. So we offered, cause we had made some pretty good offers already. And it was just at the point we were kind of like, felt like we had to just do something crazy. So we offered 12 months upfront of rent.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a big chunk of money. And they accepted naturally.
I would imagine.
Yeah, they accepted. And so we offered that and got accepted. And then we had the appointment, and the appointment went fine, but then they said you'll get your like response to whether you get the visa or not in 6 weeks. And it took 15 weeks.
And meanwhile, you just leased an apartment for a full year, knowing
we just sent over $25,000 to a place that we hope exists. And we had spent $10,000 to put all our shit on a boat to go to
Right.
Portugal. So we like very bare at our house. And dude, it was like, and the whole time, that 15 weeks, there was zero communication. They do not answer the phone. They do not email you back. There is nothing at all. And it was like, it was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. I couldn't sleep at night. I just struggled so much because I was like, oh my God, like there was literally
Are we
no
literally
plan
going to
B.
miss the boat?
Yeah. Like there was no plan B. Like, I don't even know how to get our stuff back. Like, I guess we're going to have to ship it back to us if like, it was
and
just.
we all know what happened with
crazy.
COVID. Like you might not get that stuff back.
Yeah, literally like 100%. Like we have no idea what's going
in the
on.
ocean forever. Yeah.
It could be just, left there. Yep. So it was a really crazy experience. And then we, it had been 2 years since we were in Europe. And then we got to Portugal finally after all this hard, we got the call finally. And oh my God, I think I cried. I was so happy that we got approved. And then, and then it was just mostly excitement. And we got to Portugal. And I'll never forget though, man, that got there really tired, jet lagged, we had a hotel for a week that was really close to our apartment just so we, cause we had to like get some stuff for our apartment and all that.
Yeah.
So we went up in the hotel. It was really late. And, man, I cried so hard that night. I thought I had made the biggest fucking mistake of my life.
Really?
I was like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was like, what did we just do? Like, it was just like this whirlwind. And then it was kind of this moment to pause. And I had super, cause we'd been in Hawaii 2 years. So I had pretty bad culture shock again.
Right.
And also we got there late at night. So it's not like we had time to go out and see stuff. It was just kind of like straight into nighttime and, with jet lag and really tired. And I just like, I was like, oh my God, what did we do? Like, was this a huge mistake? Like, I don't know anybody here. I don't know Portuguese. I don't like, what are we doing? We're insane like this. And that, by the way, that's an experience I've had every time I've done.
You keep doing it and it keeps working, right?
Yeah, because I've learned that like once you get beyond that, there's so much fun and joy and cool stuff to happen.
Was a big part of it just like you were really, really, really freaking tired?
Yeah, definitely. I was really tired. Like literally I felt better the next day. Like the next day we went out, we saw the city, and I was much more like, okay, like this is cool. I'm excited. This is way fun. So yeah, it passed pretty quickly, but I had one night there. Yeah, I think it was tired. I just think it was like really intense. It was just a lot of intensity.
Well, and not to downplay the fact that you guys are also parents. Like that's a big deal too. Like it's enough for people to do this on their own or with a partner, but to be able to do this, and integrate a child into a new culture, like that's a big piece that like if people are thinking like, oh my God, how am I going to do this myself? Like try doing it with a child, right? And you did it, and you're making it work. And I'm so inspired by how you guys are just like, we love Portugal. Andy's going to school. She loves her school. They have helpers at their school, which is so funny. And the fact that you're just like, you're doing it and you're making it work because it's what you guys decided that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like, and some people call it bold, some people call it brave, some people call it delusional. I sometimes, when I make big, bold decisions, will call myself delusional for it. But it's because in some moment of time, I think that sounds really cool. I want to do it. And sometimes it's just chasing that and maybe being a little bit, some people will say that it's just like, you're making really rash decisions. Are you sure? But you have to. There's a part of you that's like, that sounds like a really good idea. Why would I not do it? And a lot of us as humans overthink these things.
Yeah.
And there's a certain way to live and there's a certain way we're supposed to do things. And we're not actually challenging that way of life. And you've challenged that way of life.
Yeah. One of the big things, like having Andy, actually Michaela's pregnant with another one right now, which is cool. Yeah.
Oh
so we're really excited. But having Andy was like it still is by far like one of the hardest things I've done. I don't know if it's, I think it's hard for everyone. It's, having a kid, it's just such a weird experience. It really feels like you die and then come to life or come back to, and you have like this new life.
I've just become myself again. And I have two, and my youngest is turning 3 at the end of this month. I feel like I just have found myself again, probably this past year.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and and it challenges you in ways that nothing else challenges you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember though when we had Andy, one of the things that we were just really, really determined about, especially early on, was that we didn't want having a kid to keep us from doing things that we love to do.
Yep.
And we always felt that like there would be benefit to the kid as well to doing these kind of crazy things and
100%.
letting them have the experiences too, you know, and growing up with that. And yeah, it would just so we've always tried to, as much as we can, like really take her on these journeys too, and let her experience it in the same way that we're experiencing it. Like, yeah, it's crazy, it's new. Like, how wild is this? And she is so fucking adaptable. It is insane.
Those experiences are gonna be so amazing for her development, and she's gonna look back and reflect and realize that there are other people in her life that didn't have those experiences, and it's major.
And she's gonna be like, wow, I had a So I really, and I hope, you know, and also the cool thing is, you know, the goal, we've been here 2 years, we have to be here 5 before we can apply for citizenship. There's a caveat to that with the new baby, actually, because that baby will be a citizen when it is born, and we can apply for family reunification. So actually, we might be able to get it sooner. Yep.
Okay.
But Andy will be a dual citizen when she's older, and that opens up so many possibilities for her to be able to travel and do what she wants, and which I think is awesome. So like, yeah, it's not easy doing it with kids, but I don't think kids should stop you though either, you know?
And nothing worth it is ever easy. And I think that there's something so beautiful about creating that life for your children, because they're going to be very grateful for it once they realize not everybody gets to experience life the way that I did. And my parents,
because right now she's like, oh, whatever. But then later she'll be like, holy shit, like this is like an unusual experience that I had growing up. So it's been, really, but we love it here. We love it here. There's, you know, we don't own a car. We walk everywhere. We've both lost some weight because you're just more active. And, you know, honestly, like my favorite thing about living here, and I'm a very social person, and I really require like I require a pretty big network to like feel happy. And just like I want to like be connected to a lot of people. And more than literally anywhere I've ever lived in my life, I am so connected here. Like it has been you would think like moving to another country, you don't know anyone, would be really hard. Like, but it is so much easier here than in Hawaii. In Hawaii, I feel like I struggled so much. We did make a few friends that were really close, but I feel like I struggled so much to build connections with people, and everyone just kind of was, I don't know, you know, living the American, like go to my house, drive, use the garage opener, you know, like, you know, hey neighbor,
you're meeting and connecting with people, just like kind of outgoing.
But here it's a different vibe here. Like it happens often where we will, you know, go to school pickup to get Andy, and another parent will be like we'll all go to the park, but it's right there, like, and the kids will play and we'll get some wine. Like it's just the city sort of, you know, encourages it. Like there's just things to do, and there's so many spontaneous ways.
Thing. That's exactly it's really the lifestyle that I think as humans we were meant to live.
Absolutely. And I feel mentally like much healthier than I've felt in a long time, honestly, like other than when we were in Europe and stuff. But it's
there
just
language
like
barriers for you, or
the language has been, it's really fun to try and learn a new language. I enjoyed a lot. It's hard, and you look like an idiot often. That's the hard part. It's like you really got to kind of leave your ego at the door. But we're learning. I mean, the barriers there's certainly barriers, but they're pretty minimal. I would say 80% of people speak English. And the other 20% of the time, when they don't, we're now at the point where we understand enough Portuguese that we can usually get by as long as it's pretty contextual and they're speaking slowly. So like, you know, even if you're like booking a haircut or something and they only speak Portuguese, typically we can figure it out and stumble our way through it.
Still.
It's, you know, it was harder in the beginning for sure. Like there was definitely more of that. But yeah, just kind of like learning, and we have a lot of Portuguese friends who are really like helping us, which has been really cool. And that's the other thing that feels so cool to me is like, I have all these friends from different places in the world because a lot of our friends here are actually from other places. They're not Portuguese.
Oh,
We have
cool.
Portuguese friends, but we have some of our closest friends are Ukrainian. We have some really close friends who are Italian. Australian is one of our closest friends as well. Like we have all these different, so it's so cool because it's just this melting pot of different cultures and like I had to learn how to kiss on the cheek, which was like super fun.
Is it one
right?
side or the both?
So in Portugal, so this is what I learned. I didn't know this. It's different in every country. So it depends on where you're at in Europe. So in Portugal, it's one on each side. Left, it's hold on, I think left and then right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only guys to girls and girls to girls. So if it's two guys, you don't do it. But then like in Italy, it's right to left, one kiss on each. And guys do it. So guys do kiss each other. So it's like, it's all, and what's funny is we have this melting pot. So I've had to learn all the different types. And so like Ukrainian is only one kiss on the left side with girls, but nothing for guys. And so I've had to learn all these different styles of it that I didn't even know it was, I didn't even know it was this nuanced. And one more funny fact that just cracks me up is when I learned this when we were still in the US and I was texting our real estate agent. And because she was talking about the house or something, and I was like, okay, thanks. And she's like, yeah, no problem. And she sent like 2 kissing faces. And I remember being like, what the fuck? Like why is she weird? I literally showed Michaela, like, this woman just, it was so funny. And I literally was like sitting there for a few minutes. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if it's because they like kiss. And sure enough, that's what it is. It's because they kiss and they use that as emoji as well. And it translates. Yep. So funny. Yeah. So now I get often kissing.
Yeah, I think maybe Americans are just the weird ones. Who knows? But I love it's the culture nuances. It's so fun to experience that stuff because like there's so much stuff you can research and understand about a country, but until you're there experiencing it with other people, like there's so many things to take in and it's really, really fun to do that. And I love that you have that with so many other people from different parts of the world.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part is just the different experiences that are so unusual to you and really like open your mind. Yeah. And for some reason, I was like really excited about the getting to learn to kiss on the cheek. I don't know why. It just felt like it feels so fucking classy. I don't know. Like I'm just it's so cool.
And it's also like we're not very vulnerable people in the States. I don't think like we don't like to express ourselves the same way that other people do around the world. And I think it's so nice and almost liberating to be with people who are like they let their guard down. They don't have this whole like stigma of like I don't do this with other people. They're just genuinely passionate about connecting with humans. And that means kissing them on the cheek and greeting them and like seeing how they are. Like, why is it so hard for us to do sometimes?
100%. And that's actually a really good point because it's not just the kissing on the cheek I've noticed. And I forget about it now because we've been here a few years. But like, I remember when we first got here, you just notice that people talk a lot closer and there's a lot more just general touching. Like, people touch you on the elbow, they'll put their arm on you. Like there's just a lot more general affection. And I'm like a really affectionate person. So I actually really enjoy that aspect. Some people might not, but I think it's cool to have like more physical interaction. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is probably European culture a little bit too, and maybe other places, but it's like the intimacy doesn't just exist between people who are in love with each other. There's intimacy between friends. And there's something so intimate about just like sitting at a table with a group of friends, having a bottle of wine and like talking about things and being really ultimately connected.
Yeah. And literally like, and that's what I love. Like this city here and most European cities are like, just really encourage that type of lifestyle. So like, first of all, on every corner of every street, I swear to God, in Lisbon, there is a nice park for kids. And at every single one of those parks, there is a little kiosk that serves wine and beer and coffee and sandwiches and whatever you want with tables. And so
I'm ready to book my ticket. That alone, like that.
Literally, that's my favorite part. Like, so we all the time will just go to the park for like 3 or 4 hours. Michaela and I'll bring our books. Andy plays and we drink a glass of wine, chat, enjoy the sunshine. Like, and guess what? It is always busy. It's never dead. Like you go to a park in the US and it's like, oh, we're the only ones here. Like,
there's like a tumbleweed rolling by.
Literally. Yeah. But every park in Lisbon is always buzzing with kids, with people drinking, having it. Like it's a beautiful, it's really great. I love it so much.
Ugh, I'm envious.
Yeah.
And going to be
Well, you
thinking
must come
about
visit and we'll show you
Portugal,
around.
yeah,
We'd
for
love to.
sure.
Yeah, we'd love to
I
show
love
you.
that it's family friendly. So that will be the next place on our bucket list for sure. Okay.
Cool.
Mike, I could talk to you forever about these things. Like, I literally feel like we might as well just grab a glass of wine and continue talking, but we'll have
I
to
know. Let's do it.
I do want to ask one final thing, because you are living the dream life that so many people have been probably putting their finger on the trigger, and they're ready to pull it because they're like,
Yeah.
I need to change, or I want to work for myself, or I just want to enjoy life. Like, life is too short to be fucking sitting at a desk all day.
Yep.
What would you tell them? Like, what sort of inspirational, or maybe like an anecdote or something that you've experienced? Like, what's a piece that they can take with them to maybe on that a little bit?
So I would tell them to start by figuring out what it is you want. Like, you have to, if you're going to do it, you have to have that clarity, because without that clarity, everything's just going to get super muddied and you'll have shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
So like for us, it was moving to Europe, right? And then it became a matter of how do we move to Europe? So, and frankly, typically the how of doing something is often much simpler than people expect it to be. You just have to have clarity around the thing you want. And a lot of people say, I want to move to Europe, but like it's not this really clear purpose. And I think too, like, you have to be aligned with your partner, with, you have to have that clear vision is super important. That's the first thing. And then the next thing really is like, sit down with somebody who you trust, who encourages you, who you love. And for me, it's really hard to do this stuff alone. I really do need Michaela with me. And so sit down with that person and say, like, this is something I really fucking want. Like, how can we make this happen? And you will be absolutely shocked at the genius problem-solving ways that you can make virtually anything happen. And that might mean like looking for a remote, like it could be as simple as finding a remote job, which I know isn't super simple, but hey, if you look for a remote job for the next 12 months, really consistently, do you think you'll find something?
Yeah.
Probably,
especially when you've already set those non-negotiables. Yeah,
exactly. Like once you know what you want, maybe that, but then you just work it backwards. Okay, if I want to do that, I need a remote job. How much do we need to make? Okay, we need to make this as a minimum amount. And then you can even ask like, how do I do it in a way that feels not scary to me? Because that's like a big thing. So like when and I'll be done here in a second, but when I was going originally to Europe and I was still working with Carrot full time, the first time to Europe, I wanted to do it in a way that didn't feel super scary, especially with my work, because that was my one gig. So I called my boss and I said, hey, we want to go to Europe. Are you going to fire me if I move to Europe? And I just said that. And he was like, no, I don't care, dude. He's like, just keep doing good work. I don't care where you're at. So that gave me a feeling of safety to say, okay, I can do this without getting fired. Like, I'm a big believer that you can do these things without, like, people think that you have to dive headfirst and risk everything. There's an element of truth to the risk, which I've experienced that, but there's also like, I don't think you should risk everything to the degree that you're going to be on the street.
Also, just asking your boss, I feel like most people would be like, it's time for me to just quit and figure it out, rather than doing what you did and just asking. Because I'm sure on the other end of that, your boss was like, man, I'm really glad that he expressed what his goals are in life for what he wants in his personal life, and that we can make it work. Like, some people also just want to know that they can help serve you in some way.
100%. And maybe it means for other people, like asking their boss if they can be remote, being like, hey, we really want to travel more. I will bust my ass. Can I be remote? Maybe crazy idea. Maybe you even offer to take less pay. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but there are millions of solutions once you know what it is you want, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and if it is the stability, you can negotiate.
You can negotiate anything. Absolutely. And so I think that's the key, is you really do have to, and it's hard. You just have to really open your mind and say, okay, as long as you have the clarity, again, the how to is it's just doing it. It's the execution.
And you guys did it. And you did it with a lot of variables that other people don't even have to consider. And I think that that's really, really cool. Like,
I mean, if you're like a single person, like, you have no fucking excuse. Like,
exactly.
Get to Europe. What are you doing? Like, I mean, it's so easy if you're young and you're single. like, I'm going to really encourage Andy when she's young to just go somewhere, like go do some crazy shit and have some fun and travel and get these experiences while you're young. So yeah.
Well, Mike, you are the true definition of escape artist. I'm so inspired by all the things that you're doing. I need to connect with Michaela. I'd love to meet her. I'm inspired by, how she supports you and how you guys work as a team and what you've built as a family. It's really great. So thank you for being on the podcast and having these conversations. We'll have to connect soon.
Absolutely. It was so fun. You're a great podcast host. You're really good at this.
Thank you.
You really are.
It comes easy when you just want to like hang with friends and have conversations. So
then keep doing that. Just keep. Yep.
Love it. Thanks so much, Mike. We'll chat soon.
Cool. See you later.
See ya.